77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. The Roger Stone Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Audio Networks. Now joining us is one of my favorite members of Congress, Eric Burlison, who is a rock-ribbed Reagan conservative, a bulldog champion of the taxpayers, a fighter for your Second Amendment rights, and a staunch and outspoken supporter of President Donald Trump and his reform agenda. Congressman Burlison represents the 7th District of Missouri, which includes Springfield and the surrounding areas. He served in the Missouri General Assembly prior to his election to Congress, but don't ever call him a politician. He is a man who ran for public office not to be someone, but in order to do something, and we're proud to have him on the Roger Stone Show today. Congressman, welcome.
Thank you, Roger. It's always an honor.
So you had a front row seat here for an important part of American history. From the beginning, I believe you were a staunch supporter of President Trump's big, beautiful bill. You, like many of us, expressed concern about the need to further cut federal spending, but if you understand House rules and how the House works, this really wasn't the appropriate vehicle for that. The administration has a series of rescission bills in which they're going to tackle the problem of excess spending. But it was a tumultuous, really a tenuous and exciting time. I stayed up all night into the wee hours of the morning to see if Speaker Johnson would round up the votes, and in the end, he did. So tell us what it was like to be there when you heard that the measure had passed.
It was fantastic, and look, me and several members of the Freedom Caucus were really fighting hard to get every piece of what Donald Trump wanted, and probably were more aggressive and envious than even the president when it came to being willing to give in to the moderates. Things like the SALT tax deduction increase, we fought that tooth and nail because it does have a cost, and it really doesn't benefit middle class Americans. It benefits mostly people in paying high tax states. We thought that jeopardized Trump's agenda and his ability to make many of the tax cuts better or more permanent. So we were fighting to get to do that. We were also trying to figure out how, in order to pay for these tax cuts, how can we reduce spending in other areas, especially things like the Green New Deal, which Donald Trump said he wanted entirely gone, but yet Republicans and K Street didn't want the Green New Deal gone. And so they fought us. The Senate really jammed us with some language that watered down those spending reductions. So on the day of the vote, we had meetings with the White House. We were trying to figure out how we can navigate some of the things that the Senate has sent over. But by that evening, we'd come up with a list of things that we felt that we needed to fight for and get a commitment. And by about 2 a.m., we got a commitment from the president's team. And really, at the end of the day, I don't think they had a hard problem with getting the president and his team on board. It's getting the rest of the conference on board, right? And so that once we got some of those commitments, then we were able to deliver a huge win for the president.
Yeah, many people criticize Speaker Mike Johnson. I am not among them because I think he has one of the most difficult jobs on earth. He has members of his conference like you and Anna Paulina Luna and Andy Ogles and of course many of my friends in the Freedom Caucus who want radical reform of government. And then you have those let's call them what they are, rhinos, those moderate Republicans who don't really want to do anything other than get reelected. They want to just not rock the boat. And he has to get a majority of his caucus to vote for anything. It's an extraordinarily difficult job, and my hat's off to him for his leadership in this fight. I think he did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I think he did too, and we, part of it was us in that fight, and recognizing we may have to give to some of the moderates on issues like raising the SALT tax, but in exchange, we were able to get them to buy into, letting us correct some of the misuse, the waste, fraud, and abuse within Medicaid and other programs, which ultimately strengthens those programs for the people that need it. Those were huge wins. And I think Johnson did a good job of trying to navigate a very thin, a narrow path.
Yeah, we had a great interview with your colleague, Tim Burchett, the other day, and it was a great interview. Let's look at this the other way around for a moment, if we may. Every House Democrat voted essentially for the largest tax increase in American history, because if the Trump first-term tax cuts had not been renewed in January, the American people would have had an across-the-board 68% increase in federal income tax rates. They voted not to allow to cut the tax on tips. They voted against slashing, or I should say, they voted to slash the child tax credit. They voted to keep criminal illegal aliens here in the United States. They voted to continue to give illegals Medicaid. This is truly a party that has lost its way.
That's a really great way to put it, because the Democrats they're really salivating, thinking that they've got one over on us, that they can be able to campaign on this one big beautiful bill. But I think that, to your point, there's just as much negative for voting against the bill, and once the American people start living under this bill and the new tax benefits, and they start getting huge tax returns this coming April, I think that the following election in November, middle class taxpayers are going to be rewarding us because they will have lived under the benefits of the one big beautiful bill.
I agree with that. I think the CBO, by the way, which has a long history of being wrong, the Congressional Budget Office insisted that the Reagan tax cuts would cause a deficit, but of course federal revenues spiked sharply, as they did after the Trump tax cuts in his first term, after they did after John F. Kennedy's tax cuts. So this continuous liberal myth and the static analysis of the CBO, which never takes economic growth into consideration, was just used as another piece of the disinformation campaign against the bill. I had members of my own family saying, how can you support something that cuts Social Security? There's nothing, not only does it not cut Social Security, but 88% of those currently receiving Social Security benefits got a tax break, will not have those benefits taxed. So that's just another example of the disinformation out there that supporters of the bill had to face down. I believe these artificial intelligence aspects of the bill, where they limited states from regulating AI, in the end, those got stripped out, did they not?
That language got stripped out by a Senate amendment. In fact, Senator Cruz, who was the sponsor of that language, decided to strip it, that it wasn't the right time, and he stripped it. He voted to strip his own language out of the one big beautiful bill. So that took a little bit of the controversy. That issue can cut both ways. But at the end of the day, we don't want to complicate a bill that's already complicated. And I think that was wise for them to take that out. And then to your point, you're absolutely right. The Democrats are going to continue to lie. They have, for example, they're setting up staging protests at nursing homes and other places, trying to shout that people at nursing homes are going to be kicked off Medicaid, or individuals who are disabled are going to be kicked off Medicaid, and that could not be further from the truth. the only changes to Medicaid that we did that might impact an individual is a person who is an able-bodied, young age working adult. And we know that statistically there are a lot of, unfortunately, young men between the ages of 18 and 50 that are just checked out of the workforce. They don't, for whatever reason, they don't feel like they need to go work. And if they're not disabled, we should not be covering their health insurance and their food stamps and their other benefits. We need to motivate individuals to get back to work, and that's what this Trump economy needs. We need more people working the jobs, and I mean that's how you grow an economy. And once people have one job, they might get promoted to another job, better job. That's how it works. People don't just immediately jump into management.
Yeah, the Social Security stuff really particularly sticks in my craw, because which party was it that moved the Social Security funds from a private trust to the public fund so Congress could spend it? Why, that was Lyndon Johnson and the Democrats. Which party stopped tax deductions for Social Security payments? That happened under the Democrats. Which party started the taxing of Social Security benefits? Why, that would be the Democrats. Which party started giving our Social Security money to illegal immigrants who had not paid into the Social Security Trust Fund? Why, that, once again, would be the Democrats. During their recent 12 years in power, 4 under Obama, 4 under Biden, there was never a Social Security increase other than the cost of living adjustment, which Joe Biden tried to take credit for, but the president who pushed and signed the legislation that ensured that Social Security payments were adjusted based on the cost of living was Richard Milhouse Nixon. In 1972, he signed a bill that introduced automatic cost of living adjustments, COLAs, for Social Security benefits, which started in 1975. So the Democrats have demagogued the Social Security issue every 2 or 4 years for as long as I can remember. And it was President Donald Trump. There were technical reasons why the tax on Social Security couldn't be eliminated entirely, but they came up with a formula under which 88% of those who currently receive benefits will no longer pay taxes on them. To me, that is one of the greatest things in the bill.
It is. It's a huge benefit. And those seniors, when they realize how big of a tax benefit, I think that they will understand that what the Democrats are doing is all hogwash. But to your point, we do have a shortfall that was created by the Democrats because in about 9 years, the amount of money that's going in for Social Security will not equal the amount that's going out. And as a result, some adjustments will have to be made. And the Democrats put into the bill an automatic reduction in benefits. So the Democratic Party has laid some landmines that are going to have to be addressed, and I don't think I think the Republicans are going to have to be the adults and fix it.
If you're just tuning in, folks, we're talking to Congressman Eric Burlison from Missouri. We're talking about the benefits of the big, beautiful bill and also some of the landmines that the Democrats have laid for Social Security beneficiaries in the future. We'll be right back with more of one of the most conservative and articulate champions of the taxpayers in the U.S. House of Representatives, Congressman Eric Burlison, on the other side. Whatever you do, folks, please stay with us here on The Roger Stone Show and don't touch that dial. When we come back, I want to ask the Congressman whether he thinks it's time for the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates on the American people. So whatever you do, don't go away.
The Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. 77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
This episode is brought to you by GM Genuine Parts and AC Delco. Get the most out of your vehicle with GM Genuine Parts and AC Delco original equipment. The only parts designed, engineered, tested, and backed by General Motors. You can find your perfect fit for most makes and models and choose from 3 tiers of parts, including GM OE or gold and silver aftermarket parts. Visit gmparts.com for more information.
The Roger Stone Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Roger Stone Show. We're talking to Congressman Eric Burlison. The congressman is a solid, rock-ribbed conservative, a strong supporter of free market policies, individual freedom, and he has focused his entire political career on reducing government regulations. He's a proud father, husband, God-fearing patriot, and he is the host of a popular podcast, Fresh Freedom. Congressman, where can people go to see your podcast?
It's on everywhere you can look: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, X, Rumble. So we try to broadcast it everywhere.
How often do you do your show?
Each week that we are in session, which is about 3 weeks a month, we will do a podcast. It's myself and a few other freshman members of Congress, and so we try to bring on a special guest. Would love to have you on it next time you're in D.C.
I would be more than honored. So it cannot be a great time to be a Democrat. Think about it. USAID has been defunded. The Dow is skyrocketing. Rogue left-wing judges' powers finally been limited by the Supreme Court. Iran's nuclear weapons development capability has been smashed. Zoran is emerging as the leader of their party, a pro-Hamas Muslim radical. The Republican National Committee has 5 times more cash on hand than the Democrat National Committee, which has to borrow to stay alive. Criminal illegal aliens are being deported, and we just increased more funding for that. President Trump is brokering peace deals across the globe. States will soon start defunding Planned Parenthood, and white males like David Hogg are being kicked out of the Democrat Party. Can't be very exciting to be a Democrat these days, can it?
No, the wins just keep coming. But one of the ones that I would add to your list is that the Democrats' fundraising apparatus, Act Blue, is under total disarray, being criminally investigated, and so I think that the fact that we discovered that they were laundering money through Act Blue and attributing it to American citizens that had no idea that they were making these contributions.
To the extent of millions and millions and millions of dollars. By the way, one of the biggest recipients of this money in the country, New York Attorney General Letitia James. Going to become time to pay the piper here very soon. This is how they propped up Kamala Harris's campaign as well. Act Blue is a criminal conspiracy in which they launder millions of dollars in multiple small and medium-sized contributions in the names of people. In some cases, the people don't exist. In other cases, when you contact them, they have no idea what you're talking about. So, Congressman, you're absolutely right. That's an important development. I know the House is conducting a vigorous investigation into Act Blue. It explains why, for example, Marco Rubio's challenger, Val Demings, in the last Senate election, she raised $37 million. Marco Rubio, an incumbent, raised $10 million. Now, he beat her soundly, but how does an obscure House member, who no one's really ever heard of, raise $37 million on on the internet other, candidly, than by fraud. You have put your finger right on the issue.
Yeah, I think if we keep investigating, I think what we're going to find is that a lot of that money originated overseas. It was coming in from people that would otherwise not be able to contribute, so they just they use algorithms to log into ActBlue, take a spreadsheet of people that had previously donated and just enter their demographic information and attribute the contribution to those people. So it was on a large scale.
All right, I'm afraid we have to end it there. I want to thank our guest, Congressman Eric Burlison from Missouri, a staunch conservative, a great supporter of the president, giving us an eyewitness account on the passage of the most significant piece of legislation in my lifetime, President Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. Congressman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Roger. Anytime.
The Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. 77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.